Dawson Rider Wiki.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here. Welcome to my review for the Mighty Morphin Hero Figures from, well, Power Rangers Zeo. No, it's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So these are large-scale, sort of flip-head figures with a slightly stylized look, just to get it out of the way real quick. If you're curious about the scale, I mean, you can obviously tell they're larger figures, but they're just slightly taller than the Nutcracker figures. Like, it looks like he's taller from this angle, but he's just ever so slightly taller than the Nutcracker, like 12-inch style figures. So it's within that scale, and obviously they look different because they have these weird chest things. So these are very interesting figures, as you can see. The first thing I want to point out is, other than this weird hinge thing because of the gimmick of this figure, this head sculpt is still more accurate than the Lightning collection, which I think is funny. And again, setting aside the hinge, I actually think the helmet looks pretty good. It's got good coloring, it's got good gloss finish, it's got good like proportions. Again, setting that weird hinge bit aside. And as you can see, they've taken a stylized weird approach with this, where they kind of have like kingdom armor, like they live with Ezekiel, but they're also kind of reminiscent of the movies in a way, and you have like the coin there and the coin there, and you can actually see the actual like sculpt of it. It's not just blank or anything like that. And MMPR figures are always kind of hard to mess up color-wise because you only really need two outside of the helmets. So I think, you know, look-wise, these all look pretty solid in terms of just the color looking good. It doesn't look too cheap, maybe a little bit around here, but considering some of the other things, they, you know, could be worse. And then you have this weird little backpack thing here, which is going to be storing the helmet for the gimmick. You do have some minor articulation, basically just in the arms, which I guess is kind of neat. They also, all three do have weapons. So red has the power sword, which is decently painted. You know, you have the silver paint here, and then the red plastic. Blue has the power lance. They don't separate, it's just the one lance. And then pink has the bow and arrow, again, just like in her 12-inch Nutcracker version, although she can never pose it like this. But still, it's kind of cool, and you know, I like that they're actually painted, or at least paint molded, and not just solid gray. But the main gimmick for these is they're kind of like an update on the flip heads. So you take this around, and you have to push it down this way, so the helmet's in two pieces, and stuff like that. And then you have a head sculpt here for Jason, which actually isn't too bad. It's actually better than some of the Lightning sculpts. It looks kind of like Jason, with like a pointier nose, with a little bit of Rosie O'Donnell in there. His hair still hasn't moved since 1993, but it's actually not too bad. And then this is kind of like the old, I believe it was the Zeo flip heads, where you click the legs together and you wish you were home, and then you morph. And it's actually pretty cool. It's pretty satisfying to do. You have to be upright to do it. Like when I got these out of the packaging and I was trying it out, I kind of had it like this and it won't go, so you have to have it upright or leaning forward. And it's kind of weird because the flip heads have been part of like the early PR toy lines for a long time and are kind of famous from the early days. And Bandai America announced they were doing some in their Legacy line, and they ended up just being reissues of the original and not updates. And I always wondered, like, what would it look like trying to do a flip head after 20 years of toy advancing technology? And apparently it looks worse because you give them a weird Tyrannosaurus backpack. I feel like there could be something slicker. I think the main point of this is just for the fun and not so much for the mechanism being sleek, but I feel like they could really update these because I always felt this was a fun gimmick. Well, let's take a look at the other two quick. You got Billy here. His helmet doesn't seem quite as detailed, mainly because this part isn't painted and it's kind of more in line with what I would have expected, and I think Red's is a lot better painted. But all the other details look fine for what they are. The Triceratops coin looks a little bit funny. He's got the same arm articulation, and as I mentioned, he also includes that weapon, which I just showed. He has the same gimmick here. When you pull this down, this doesn't look quite so much like Billy. This looks like the non-copyright version of Billy, but I still like it better than the Creeper Lightning Collection helmet version. But he's got the gimmick there. And then you got Kimberly here, who I think her helmet looks pretty solid. You know, again, you have the weird stuff here, and you do have her hair coming out, which almost gives it its own unique look. Like, what if the hair came out of the helmets? Like, this was Creeper Battle Fever J, which was basically just the precursor to the Purge movies. But, you know, everything else looks fine for exactly what it is. I think they're pretty decent for just basically being gimmicky figures. Same articulation there. And then hers is a little bit weird. She looks decently like Amy Jo Johnson. I feel like there's a scale here, where he looks pretty much like ASJ. He doesn't look anything like Billy. Well, not anything, but you know what I mean. Like I said, non-copyright version. And she's right in the middle, where she looks like a combination of Amy Jo Johnson and the non-copyright version. And this headband ponytail look they give her make her seem like the 80s version of Kim. Maybe these are the 80s Rangers or something. So that's kind of what it's like, which is weird. And then you get this weird thing here where you have the hair sticking out, which is kind of strange. It's either they thought, that's kind of a cool, unique look, or they're just like, no one's gonna notice. Guess what? I noticed. But overall, I think these are fine figures for what they are. I don't think that they're the coolest figures in the line or must-haves. I can only really recommend them. I think kids will like them. I think they'll have a lot of fun with them. I could definitely see little kid me in the 90s enjoying these since I liked the flip heads. I would love to see in the future a flip head figure that sort of also looks good and actually hides the fact that it's a flip head and tries to make use of 21st century technology rather than like advancing, or devancing, or whatever, de-evolving. There we go. Cetus Lapidus. This is the 21st century. But anyway, I can recommend these for, I think, if you get them for your kids, they'll be fun. Or if you're a super hardcore MMPR fan and you want these kind of niche figures. But otherwise, they're fun, harmless figures, but an easy pass. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.